Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Now the madness starts because the professor was here and it took me back to school. It was wonderful. But today is about madness. Today is about being crazy. Today is about being eccentric. Have you ever watched a speaker come in with their heart in their hand? Because today is about heart. We will be talking a lot about technology, but actually, fundamentally, the future is about heart and how we put heart back into our lives. And one of the things when I said about madness and craziness and nuttiness, I'm very eccentric. You know how to define what it means to be eccentric? It's basically off-center. So if you think of a normal distribution curve, we are off-center. And as several of my colleagues and my speakers in this mad segment, they are totally nuts. They are completely eccentric, totally mad, except for one person in there who, and you will have to guess which one, who is the sensible one who keeps us balanced. But the bottom line is that us eccentric people on the edges are the ones who bring about change, are the ones who fine-tune these things and really do something special. So today is about what got you here won't get you there. Because I think we have so much technology and activities around us, and we just don't know how to take the next step. So when I came to Dubai, it was 1990. This is what Dubai looked like. Then, today, this is where you're living, exactly where you are. This picture is taken from there. And that's essentially tomorrow. And I used to live in one of these apartments here, apartment 702. And that's how the whole thing started. And this is why dreams and this is why the future is really just shaping in front of our own eyes. And this is what you're encountering. This is where you are sitting today. Professor Marshall Goldsmith is one of my gurus, and he wrote this book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And basically what it is the essence of what we're doing today. Step one, what got you here was your degree. Step two, you went to Harvard. Step three, you got yourself a job. This is where you are, guys. How the hell do you get there? You cannot get there from here. You need to think differently. You need to behave differently. You need to bring heart and soul into your environment before you're able to get there. And then leadership of the future and ladders of the future are going to be much, much more like this. They will not be linear. They will not be incremental. And I think that's really the key for us today, is that we are not in an incremental space. We are in an exponential environment. And we are wired to be linear. And we'll talk about that today in greater depth in an exponential world. The next important thing is for the last 50, 60 years, we've just been putting Intel inside our lives, into our work, into all sorts of things that we do. So it's about technology, it's about software, it's about things related to that. The future, ladies and gentlemen, is about putting heart inside, humanity inside, love inside our lives, and that is what's going to change the future. Now, I spoke about, this is probably the most important chart for today. And if you think about it, the world has become very, very exponential. So if you see the social, business, and political curve, it's much, much flatter. We are about there. We are about here today. And everything else is going up from there. So if you can't think in a very, very exponential way, the future is going to run away from you. And that's part of the thesis today. This chart is the most counterintuitive chart you will find. And that is that for the very first time in our lives, because of this exponential curve, the past does not really reflect the present. In other words, whatever expertise we had 20 years ago does not affect us today. And if you keep developing the way you are from where you are today into the future, it will again not get you there because it'll end up somewhere else. So you need to project yourself into the future and look back from the future and see how that figures out. So the past does not represent the present, and the present does not represent the future. So all of those fancy investment reports and things like that, this is what's happening there. We, as companies, are on this red curve. And this is the linear curve that we are on. And this yellow curve is coming from underneath. And what does that mean? Let me try and illustrate it. So if I take 30 steps, and each step is a meter. So if I just take 30 steps, how far have I walked? If I take 30 steps? 30 meters. If I take 15 steps, how far have I walked? 15 meters. Now, if I do this again, and I take 30 doubling steps, 1, 2, 4, 8, how far have I walked when I'm at 15? You don't know. How far have I walked up at 30 doublings? You don't know. Do you know how much it is? Guess. It's over 1 billion steps, which means it is over, I can walk around the world 26 times by 30 doublings. And that is what's happening in using Moore's law. Technology is doubling and data processing is doubling every 12 to 18 months. And price is coming straight down. And it is becoming much, much more realistic. So what is happening is, this yellow curve are all of those technologies. DNA sequencing has been going on for 25 years. 3D printing has been going on for 30 years. We've only found out 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it ended up here. Now it's about there. And once it crosses that point, that knee, game over for everybody in that industry. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the key difference between being linear and being exponential. We need to be on that exponential curve, and we'll explore that, unwrap that today. On this side is companies 10 years ago, mostly financial services and oil. That side is where we are today. Actually, Exxon has fallen down to number 9, and 15 of the next 20 companies are blue, database companies. So what is happening is that the world has just become a data-centric environment, a data-driven environment. And if you're not a liquid and a networked company, information-rich company, you are on a sliding scale. You're going to struggle. So Silicon Valley type companies, Boston type companies, they are the ones who are actually shaping the future. And this is how we need to look at that. This is one of my favorites. I know it's a little bit retro, about 3 or 4 years ago. This is IBM, IBM Watson, winning at Jeopardy. Remember those good old days? It's actually only 4 years ago. What happened there was that 25 years ago, when the internet came in and all the search facilities and so on, what it did, it commoditized and democratized content, knowledge, and information. Today, what artificial intelligence, learning systems, and so on are doing is, for the very first time, they are commoditizing expertise. So if you're an expert at something, it is becoming democratized and commoditized. So think about that. If you're a doctor, an oncologist, you're here. But if you're a nurse or caregiver, you're down here. Over the next 5 years, it's going to do the exact opposite. The nurse becomes more important because the diagnostics and so on will go to the tricorder, which has already been produced, and it's just going to get better and better. So you don't need a doctor in that context anymore, but you need a caregiver. You need somebody who's going to say, "How are you feeling, sir? What would you like? Can I get you something, ma'am? Do you want your family here?" That is what the caregiver is going to be. That is what the lawyers are going to be in the future. And that is what the accountants are going to be in the future. Because their expertise is becoming less and less and less relevant, because it's all going away. The other thing which is really important is all of this is the left side of the brain. Logic, reason, method, process, detail. That's what we can transfer. What's on this side? Imagination, love, intuition, feeling, collaboration, conscience, ethics, all of those wonderful things that makes us human. That's all on this side. We haven't been developing this because we've been too busy in the industrial age. We've been developing that side. Now this side's going, that side's left. Now, traditionally, who are better on this side of the game? Women. They're more intuitive. They're better at collaboration. They have more empathy because they have evolved and developed faster than men in that space. So men now need to start learning to get into that space. But it's not just about the men. Humanity needs to do this. Because as we get into computing and machine learning and so on, the only differentiator in our lives is this. And we'll explore that a little bit more. So this is what's going to change our lives a lot. This could be a potential future. Maybe it's not such a bad future. But there we go. Sitting from this side of the world, that looks pretty good. So when we wrap it all up, where is this going? What has happened is that data has now become the new oil. And our brain and our thinking and our conscience and our ethics, that has become the new gas, the new petrol that you put in the tank to run it. But what's really, really important is the next slide. And that's why I'm carrying this. And this is the big takeaway from today, that empathy and trust and heart is the currency of the future. And we'll go into that in a little bit more depth. But that is one of the lasting memories from today, is with heart, we have a future. Without that, we'll just become robots, and robots are going to be better than us, so, game over. Now, these guys, they were not able to evolve. And there's a study from Babson College, from Boston, as you guys know. This was done about 2 years ago. They said that by the year 2025, 75% of the companies in the S&P 500 will no longer exist in the exchange. 75%. But an even more important figure is that 50% of the companies that replaced the 75% haven't been born today. Everything's to play for. And that's the key. This is the way we are moving forward, ladies and gentlemen. It takes 1 to 2 years to become a billion-dollar company now. And therefore, we have everything to play for over the next 5 to 7 years. These companies didn't. All of them went bust because they were not able to adapt. They were not flexible enough. They had a lot of arrogance and hubris. Take Kodak, for example. They died in 2012. They thought they were in the business of cameras and film. What do you think they were in the business of? Memories and moments. They forgot that. And who replaced them in 2012 for $1.6 billion? Instagram. Instagram replaced Kodak because they understood that memories and moments are more important than film and cameras and the whole philosophy of scarcity and control. And that is when this revolution started in terms of dealing with abundance as opposed to dealing with scarcity. These guys understand abundance. They're not very smart companies in themselves. They're just data scientists who are now getting hold of the shared economy, getting hold of our psychology, understanding how we are working. Actually, it's interesting, they hire anthropologists and psychologists and sociologists and social scientists and data scientists who are focused on the social side. I was in Paris this week presenting globally to the Accor group of hotels, and we spoke about Airbnb. They have about over 100 data scientists, and they have about 100 social scientists. That's why they're leading the way they are. And I think it's a really, really important study there. So all of these industries are getting disrupted. Some of them have already been disrupted substantially. Others are in the process of being disrupted. Now, if you look at the ones at the bottom, pharma, energy, and food, where is all the lobbying going in the United States at the moment? That's where the money is. That's what's holding everything back. And I think that to me is the key, is where if you follow the money, you will see the money is holding, because there are trillions and trillions of dollars worth of money invested in these industries in legacy businesses. And that's really where the difference is now. And we are going to be looking at this disruption as we go forward. So, Tesla, one of our very favorite cars. Companies are going to have a Tesla moment. What is a Tesla moment? A Tesla moment is your oh shit moment. It's like, oh my God, what the hell happened here? The bloody Germans were saying, oh, well, we are in Stuttgart and we are in Munich and we drive the automobile sector, and these little geeks in San Francisco and Silicon Valley, they don't have a clue. They don't know what they're doing. How can geeks take on us German engineers? They did. Tesla is basically software on wheels. Let me share a story on Tesla. One of the software upgrades they did for Tesla, because Tesla was very, very low and used to scrape the bottom. So they had to increase the height of the car by 3 inches. What do you think they did? They sent out a software patch, boom, except all the cars went up by 3 inches simultaneously. Now, if I'm Mercedes or BMW, that's my Tesla moment. That's my oh shit moment. And I'm saying, like, how the hell do I manage this kind of service? It's technology on wheels. Then you make it worse, because if you go to India and China, we have 81% of the millennials in India and 74% of the millennials in China saying, we'd rather buy a car from a technology company. So for Mercedes, for Ford, for GM, it is an existential threat because they'd rather work with them. And that's the shift. That's the Tesla moment. The millennials also want to buy from people they trust, people they like, and people they are working with on a day-to-day basis. So banks, watch out. Insurance companies, watch out. Amazon Bank and Facebook Insurance and Google Mortgage Services is not very far away. As a matter of fact, I think it's almost imminent. And that's the big shift that's taking place. And while all this technology is coming into our lives, I go back to humanity and actually connect humanity again with technology and bring the heart back in, because this is where the future is going to lie. And let's go into that. Now, one of the other things I mentioned in my introduction was that the brain is the final frontier. So let's just quickly go through the brain and our learning and our creativity and see how this works. This was a case study that was done at NASA about 35 years ago. And it was a very scientifically done case study, which was measuring creativity on one side and age on the other axis. And what they were trying to verify is how is creativity affected as we grow older? How is learning affected as we grow older? It's very interesting. So, play with me on this one. The first one is a little toddler, 3-4 years of age, on a scale of 1 to 100. Do you think the creativity is high, medium, or low? High. Everybody says high. Everybody knows it's high. It's at 95%. Then guess what happens? We send them to school. And what happens when they go to school, when they're at high school? Where do you think their creativity is then? Goes down 50%. Then you guys work really, really hard and save all your money and want to send them to the best university in the world. You wanted to send them to Harvard, Stanford, wherever they want to go. Guess where their creativity is now? 25%. And what happened there? Who knew about this? All the smart kids, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, all of these people, they discovered this, they knew it. He said, I'm out of here, enough of this shit. This is too boring for me. I'm out. So they all left. And interestingly enough, all of them have got doctorate degrees, honorary doctorate degrees from the universities that they actually dropped out from. Then it's us. Where do you think we are? We're at 10%. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, this is your moment of truth. For the last 25, 30 years, whatever your ages are, we have been spending all our time dumbing ourselves down, making ourselves less competitive, making ourselves less able to cope. The good news is this is actually reversible. So we can actually do a lot of creativity work and development work where this thing is very, very genuinely recoverable. But the important is the realization of the fact that education, learning. I always say, death to education, but long live learning. Learning how to learn, learning how thinking works, learning how memory works, learning your eyes and your brain connecting, and how does comprehension work. That is what young people need to know. They need to learn how to learn. Once they've done that, they can cope with anything you give them in the world. So, closing the business side of this session, the future of jobs, because this thing is going to affect jobs, right? Because if you're less capable and the computers are doing so well, the relationships are changing, the social contract is changing. We are way different to our predecessors who could do a great Harvard degree, you do an MBA, and you have a job for life. Not anymore, guys. In about 5 to 10 years, a Harvard degree is only the ability that you've had in terms of learning, critical thinking, and applying that critical thinking. This is where expertise starts becoming irrelevant. Take Elon Musk. We've been talking about Tesla. He is completely revolutionizing 3 industries: the automobile industry, the energy industry, and the space industry. Do you think he's an expert in any one of them? Absolutely not. So therefore, all of us can do new things as long as we're applying our minds and our energy and our heart and then going out there. I just read yesterday how Elon Musk has provided the solar panels in Puerto Rico. What an amazing thing to do. And said, it's pro bono, we'll talk about the money later. It was fixed. And this is the shift that abundance brings in. This is the shift that heart brings in. It wasn't about money. It was actually about, let's go out there and see what we can do. So, with technology, anything and everything that can be automated will be. And anything and everything that cannot be automated is 100 times more valuable, ladies and gentlemen. All of the things on this side will become 100 times more valuable, and all the things on this side will become 100th of the value. And that is the finding from today. These are the jobs that are going to disappear. One of them is very relevant for me, which is hairdresser. I mean, I don't need one, but I don't want to have my head shaved off by a robot. So they'll survive. But look at the people who will disappear on that side. They're all gone. And in all of this, a lot of us have children or have young people around us. Where is the space? What will happen to serendipity? What will happen to chance? What will happen to playfulness? What will happen to all of these wonderful things in terms of learning and mistakes and inefficiencies? Because that is how we learn and develop. And I talk about a CV. When I get a CV, I was consulting with a recruitment firm. I said, you should change your CV experience. You have your success CV and your failure CV. And I'm more interested in the failure CV because if you are doing due diligence for young companies, you want to know how they tried, tinkered, made mistakes, learned, made mistakes, moved on, and then because if this side is pure success, they haven't tried enough. Look for the failure CV, guys. That's the new future. Look for reverse mentoring. I have a 21-year-old reverse mentor who's at Stanford right now. Bill Feng, he's a Chinese-American kid. He came on an internship. He taught me more during those 3 months than I ever taught him. Take a reverse mentor. Take a young reverse mentor in your life because that is what makes the difference. Because these people were born digital. I was born analog. I had to learn digital. And when you learn a language, it's always more difficult. So, second last thing here, what should not be automated? Any ideas? Oh, it's all up there. No, that was a little test. But things like ethics, meaning, purpose, all of these things cannot be automated and should not be automated. We should not really be teaching our machines to be doing that. And you know this battle between Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. I think it's really, really critical that we retain this because otherwise it's going to be a really, really tough space. Let me share you with, and close with my legacy. This is a legacy tree. People are wondering what the hell is going on here. This is a Harvard legacy tree. It's a MAD legacy tree. MAD stands for make a difference. What are we making a difference about? When the dean came here about a year ago, all of the pull-ups that he brought in, the tagline at Harvard, and I didn't even actually know that, is make a difference. We are about making a difference. And how fortuitous the company I set up called MAD is also make a difference, and everything, all the dots just connected. So this is our legacy tree. So on your desks, you've got these little sticky notes. At the end of this 1.5 hour session with all our MAD people right now, please write one thing that in your lifetimes you will do to make a difference in the world, to your family, to your community, to whatever you do, something that comes from your heart. Do that. If you want to write your name, fine. If not, but just hang it here, and we can take pictures later. And the reason it creates its own energy, and this energy can then be taken to Boston, taken to Brazil, taken to all over the world, because it's very infectious. That is how it works. I set up a social enterprise called 100% Mad, because not only am I mad, I'm 100% mad. And the reason I'm 100% mad is that 100% of the money always goes through. We never touch it. It's just a pass-through. So I was a little egg. My niece, not very happy, was the caterpillar. My friend's daughter was the pooper in a rubbish bag. And another friend's daughter was the butterfly. And this is the metamorphosis that we're going through. And a butterfly can go through that metamorphosis in a week. And then the monarch butterfly can fly 3,000 miles after that. So that's the kind of change. But actually, I don't use the word change anymore. Please throw away the word change. The new words are transformation, exponential, things like that. Because change is too slow. Change is linear thinking. It's all about transformation. So what we're doing is reaching a billion children by 2025. And I'm working with Professor Tony Buzan, who is, And he's the inventor of mind mapping, twice nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And I hope that at some point in time, I can work with him, reach the billion people, and be eligible for that too. I'd end with this 1-minute video, and that just captures the legacy we're building, and all of us are able to make a difference in our lives. Let's see what we have here.
There's a story told of an old man walking down the beach early one morning. On this beach, there were thousands of starfish that the tide had washed in, just stranded on the beach. The old man saw a little boy down the beach, picking up starfish and throwing them back into the ocean. He walked over to the little boy. He asked him, "Why are you throwing all these starfish back into the ocean? Don't you see you can't save them all? That you'll never make a difference?" The little boy stopped, knelt down, picked up another starfish, tossed it back in the ocean. And he looked up at that old man and said, "I made a difference for that one." It's easy to listen to the negative voices saying, no one can make a difference. But the truth is, this generation is already making a difference all around the world. 100% Mad aims to empower you to make a difference. And they're on a mission to raise $1 billion, $1 at a time, for causes around the world. Causes like education, water, and poverty. They guarantee that 100% of the money received by 100% Mad will be deployed into philanthropic projects. I'm talking to you, the generation that sees a problem and wants to fix it. I'm 100% Mad, and I make a difference.
I hope you will also make a difference. Thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen.